Hello, and welcome to today's webinar on 5 things DOTs should know about high-mast lighting. I'm Lori Armstrong, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. If you have any technical questions, please feel free to enter them in the Q&A box on your screen. Dean Thornberry will be your presenter today. Dean is the Vertical Marketing Leader for Acuity Brands Infrastructure Group. He has over 15 years of product and market development experience with energy-efficient and sustainable solutions. Dean is a U.S. Army veteran and has a degree in advertising from the Ohio State University.
Thanks, Lori, and I want to thank everybody who's taken the time to join us this afternoon. Before we dive right in, I was going to just take a second here and just talk about the company a little bit, who Acuity Brands is, and what we do. Most of you probably have had some familiarity or may touched our business in one form or another, but we are a market leader in our space, in the infrastructure space. A lot of our popular brands would be Holophane and AEL. You may know us under the Peerless name on a lot of different indoor lighting applications. Some of you know us as Lithonia Lighting. You might know us as Eldo LED in the driver realm, but we are a leader in our category. And if you look at the different categories that we play in, we are number 1 or number 2 in the commercial, outdoor, residential, industrial. We have a wide variety of different lighting controls that we can provide. We also provide a whole host of emergency and daylighting products as well in our space. So, in addition to a lot of different solutions that we can bring to the table, we are a technology leader across many different types of industry markets. And LED, as a percentage of sales at Acuity Brands, has grown dramatically in the past 6 years that we've had the technology available. You can see that in 2011 it was 4% of our sales, but now, and after FY16, it's over 70% of our business. And one area where our company is unique is that we can be a one-source provider to our customers, meaning that we manufacture everything from the drivers to the light engines to the castings that everything is put into, and we can also provide a controls network for your lighting applications. We also are a big educator within the space, and we maintain and operate 3 different lighting centers where people can come and join us to talk about the fundamentals of lighting, and they can earn CU credits, AIA seminars that we provide. So not only are we a leader in the product realm, but we also are a big educator with this technology as well. From an applications perspective, Acuity Brands on the infrastructure side of our business provides a whole host of different lighting products, solutions for just about every highway application possible, anywhere from high-speed roadways to specialty roadways. When we talk about specialty roadways, we're talking about interchanges and collectors, and we're looking for special applications for wide roadways in that area. We also are a leader in security type of applications with our flood lighting products, with our Predator and our ACP flood lighting products. We also provide security lighting with our wall packs and our LNH2. And we also are a leader in our industry when it comes to tunnel lighting. And we actually have our own engineers on site where we can work with our customers on laying out, doing those tunnel layouts. And it's a very special space, and you need somebody who's been in that game before in order to put those layouts together. In addition, we also provide engineering services for designing roadways and poles and arms for those different types of applications. And we've been in the business of high-mast systems, lowering devices, and high-mast systems for a variety of different applications. We've been in that space for about 40 years. From a market perspective, in looking at how LED has been adopted through the different types of applications in different areas of the market, high-mast and specialty roadway applications are still very much in the early adopter stage, despite the tremendous amount of growth that we've seen from LEDs in a lot of different industries. The HID infrastructure installed base is still very large. We've only had about a 15 to 20% conversion rate, which means that there's probably around 50 to 60 million HID units still on the roadways today. And our business has seen a tremendous bump in growth over the last few years. We've done very well because of the broad offering that we provide to the marketplace, but we still are seeing that we are still in a very much an infancy stage when it comes to adoption. And a lot of the common explanations that we get from folks in the transportation industry at DOTs is that this technology is still too new in their view, and maybe it might be a little unproven from their perspective, and they're a little unwilling to risk some of the roadways, making those transitions. And then lastly, one big issue that we've seen over the years is that DOTs still view this technology as very expensive, and they've been really hesitant to make that change. And that leads us into the subject matter that we're here to talk about today, which is, the title of this presentation is called "The 5 Things DOT Should Know About High-Mast Lighting." And really what we want to do is we want to generate a little bit of awareness. We want to talk about the credibility of the technology in the space, talk about some of the successes that we've seen with DOTs and with city managers and city engineering folks that light highways and high-speed roadways in the space, just to maybe get you a little bit more familiar with the technology and explain, where we are today. So fact number 1, and this may come as a shock to some of you, but maybe not, but LED technology is really not that new anymore. It's been around, as we've shown, it's been around for 6 years. The technology is dramatically improved, and we're going to talk a little bbit more about that. LED high-mast applications we're seeing them being used in many different sub-vertical categories, many different applications throughout the country. Anywhere from, they're especially used in a lot of interchange lighting applications. We're seeing them being used in large area lighting applications such as correctional facilities. We're seeing them being used in ports and rail type of applications such as rail yards in your upper right-hand corner. We're seeing them being used in large terminal applications, lighting spaces that are 450 feet by 450 feet on center, on poles that are mounted at about 150 feet up in the air. And we're also seeing a lot of them crop up in large area lightings for wastewater treatment facilities, like the one on the lower right. So a lot of those wastewater treatment facilities they're tearing out a lot of their 35-foot poles that they're using for roadway lighting or area lighting, and they're going to the high-mast type of application, because what they can do is reduce the number of fixtures that they have on the overall space for their outdoor and just go to single area applications with these high-mast products. And Acuity Brands, Holophane, we have a very rich history in high-mast lighting. Going back to 1972, we launched what was called the 1100 series, which was the first prismatic glass optical assembly that we use for roadway applications on a high-mast pole, which would be anything over 80 feet, anything beyond a bucket truck that could reach to. And then in 1973, we were the first company to develop the lowering device. And what this allowed our customers to be able to do is have these 80 to 150 foot poles and use a pulley system to mount a ring of lights up in the air, and it's self-latching so that once it gets anchored at the top of the pole, all of the stress is taken off the cables and it hangs on the pole, and then you can lower the lights down to working level whenever you needed to change out the lamps, or if you needed to make a ballast repair. Since these poles were 80 to 150 feet up in the air, you could mount them 40 feet off the roadway, which made it very safe for maintenance people to access these lights. You didn't have to shut down any lanes of highway, so it was a very efficient, very cost-effective tool to use. So we invented this this device for this space, and we've been a player in high-mast lighting now for over 40 years now. So, and then in 1984 we came out with our HMST, and then a whole variety of different types of high-mast lighting products came behind it for different types of optical needs, even different types of dark skies types of requirements. We were able to meet those requirements with our high-mast systems. And then in 2012 we launched our first LED fixture, our Gen 1. Which came out in 2012, and got very good performance with it. And now we're already on our second generation LED product with the HMAO LED 2. And since 1972, we've installed over 300,000 high-mast fixtures on the nation's roadways. Since 2012, we have replaced about 30,000 of them to date. We are the industry standard. We are the specification standard for most of today's DOTs, port container terminals, large area lighting in industrial centers, and throughout the United States. So we are considered really the go-to manufacturer for this type of lighting application. So in summary, I've talked about the applications that we're using LED products, high-mast LED products, and I've talked about the different products that we've made available. And this is just showing you, some of the customers that we've had, some of the successful projects we've had. So, really LED is really not that new anymore. Fact number 2, LED performance is far superior to traditional sources. And I'm going to take the next couple slides to show you, from a performance perspective, how LEDs are actually changing the performance characteristics of many of the products on roadways. Let's take a look at this high-mast interchange comparison slide. An interchange, a highway interchange, would be categorized as an expressway, and the recommended uniformity ratio and under the RP8 guidelines would be a uniformity ratio of 3:1. And what we're seeing is a comparison between a 400-watt HPS high-mast fixture and the HMAO LED 2. Input wattage for that 400-watt HPS fixture would be 465 watts, and the HMAO fixture, to achieve the recommended foot candle requirements, would come out to 151 input watts. And you can see that we're maintaining a better foot candle performance on the roadway, 0.98 to 0.87. And our average to min is better than the HPS, and we're consuming 12,684 total watts compared to the HPS fixture, which is almost 40,000, for a total energy reduction of 68%. So we're outperforming it in the amount of foot candles on the roadway. We're also outperforming it from a uniformity perspective, and we are saving 68% energy usage. And high-mast LED products have increased in lumen output over earlier models. Many companies, if they've tried to come out with a high-mast product, are still in their first gen. We put out our first generation product in 2012, as I said earlier, and when it came out, it was at 45,000 total lumens. Our HMAO2 is now at 62,000 lumens, and we're getting about 130 lumens per watt on that fixture. Later in 2017, I think we're a few months away, we're going to be coming out with our third generation product, and it's going to come to the market with a lumen package that will deliver 85,000 lumens at 140 lumens per watt. So as you can see that we're just getting better and better and better with this product, and because we're on our third iteration, our third generation of this product, we really understand really how to manufacture, how to deliver a better experience for the customer. And LED systems, they last 5 to 6 times longer than HPS sources. And in this graph, what we're showing is the Lumen Maintenance curve, comparison between an LED and a traditional HPS light source. And you can see that, From an L70 perspective, we talk about L70 being the point at which the fixture has lost 70% of its total output. For an HPS fixture, that's around the 20,000 hours of operation. And for the High-Mast product, especially for the HMAO2 fixture at this point, at 20,000 hours, we're still at 98% lumen output. So it's almost still like a brand new fixture at that point. Our L70 doesn't really kick in this case, for well beyond 100,000 hours. Even at 100,000 hours, our fixture is right around 85% output. And so what we're seeing is very long life on these products. And from a safety perspective, when we talk in terms of safety for roadway safety, when your fixtures work much more reliably and much longer than traditional sources, your roadway is going to be lit much more often, and the risk of crashes really go down over a longer period of time. Because LEDs are a much more directional light source than traditional HPS or metal halide fixtures, we also see a much better uniformity from that type of fixture than traditional ones. And really with an HPS type of lamp, you have to use a series of reflectors and shields and in order to control that lighting. And it really just doesn't have as good of a coefficient of utilization as LEDs do. So when you have a much more uniform fixture or performance from a fixture, you get better visibility throughout your entire roadway corridor, and you reduce the amount of hot spots and glare in the process, which makes your traffic lanes a lot clearer and a lot crisper, and motorists are able to see signage to be able to enter or exit a highway, which also improves the safety factors on your roadway as well. So we've talked about Lumen Maintenance, we've talked about uniformity, and we've talked about the amount of energy use that we've seen from a performance improvement with LEDs. Lastly, and you can see from the slide that we're looking at here, you can see that color plays a big role in improving visibility on roadways as well. And you can just look at the side-by-side image that we've got here. Whiter light just provides even better uniformity and even better roadway conditions for motorists as well. And I think it's pretty clear in the slide that the advantages of a whiter light source. Number three. Fact number three: LED technology is also it's affordable, and we're going to take just a brief. We're going to look at a slide here to explain that a little bit more. And we really only need one slide to really emphasize this point. The cost of technology is at a point right now where it has plateaued from what we've seen, and you're hearing direct from the manufacturer right now. And we can just talk about what our costs have done over time. And what you can see is you had that period of time, between 2011 and 2016, where there was a rapid change with LED technology, and the price was, or the cost of the technology was dramatically declining. Over the next 5 years, we don't really expect it to change all that much more. And I guess what my point is on that is that if you are a customer or a DOT in some respect, waiting for the cost of technology to come down, thinking that it's going to dramatically continue to decrease, you might be leaving money on the table. You might not really be getting the most out of waiting anymore. You might want to just actually go ahead and take the next step, do a pilot, and see what that technology will do for your roadways, because you're actually losing money now by waiting around for the technology to reduce in cost. So before we move too far, I just want to recap really quickly. The first 3 points that we covered was, number one, it was not new. LED technology is not new. It's definitely more affordable than you think. And then thirdly, it performs a lot better than what you may think. And going into number four, we're going to talk a little bit more about energy and maintenance and how those savings in combination provide a very quick payback. As we've referenced before, I'm talking in terms of the HMAO LED second generation product, HMAO 2. This product is capable of saving up to 68% energy. This product can also deliver 62,000 lumens of light. It can reach a lumens per watt capability of 138 lumens per watt. It's been proven in a lot of different applications. It's a really efficient replacement solution for fixtures anywhere from 400 to 1,000 watt HPS. And from a maintenance perspective, when we compare LED high-mast products to HPS and metal halide, from a maintenance perspective, it lasts a very long time, and over 20 years, you're going to touch that HPS fixture 5 times, whereas with the LED fixture, we've already established that you might have to replace the photo control receptacle or the photo control itself, but even now we have photo controls that will last up to 20 years. So we have a DLL control component that if you order that with your fixture, it'll last up to 20 years now. So there's a good chance that you won't even have to touch this product for 20 years, whereas the HPS fixture, you can see that in the first 4 years you got to change the lamp. Year 8, you got to change the ballast and the lamp. You got to change the photo control, at 10, 11 years, and so forth. So every time you have to go out and make a maintenance visit, it costs you money. In the case of the DOT in West Virginia, they had a crew of 4 that they hired to drive around the roadways 24 hours a day. That was their job, to drive around the roadways of West Virginia looking for lamp outages, and that was their entire job. And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money from a maintenance perspective. So we've talked about energy a lot, but really there's a big component of cost savings that comes with maintenance. So we've talked about energy, we've talked about maintenance, but now let's talk a little bit more about optimization. We don't talk a whole lot to DOT customers a lot about optimization, but when you actually take a look at the different control solutions that are available to you beyond just photo controls that we talked about on the previous slide, a wireless network gives you a lot of capabilities that you may not have even thought of yet. And we talk about a lighting management system to be able to monitor and do diagnostic control checks on your fixtures. You can actually, instead of sending people out to drive around on roadways, you can look at your monitor and your computer monitor and be able to monitor your lighting fixtures on all your roadways just from one computer screen. And if you have a fixture that has gone out, if you've had a pole that's been run over, if you've had whatever type of issue go on your roadway, this type of system will allow you to monitor those instead of going out to the actual site itself to find out what the problem is and then sending out a crew. It'll tell you from a diagnostics perspective what exactly is wrong with that fixture. So it will even write up a work order from that computer screen. You can actually print it out and give it to your work crews to go out and conduct that maintenance just from that control point. You can also schedule your fixtures for dimming schedules. I know in the case of some roadways, maybe you don't have that capability. Maybe you're not allowed to do that. But in other areas where you're doing large lighting applications, you can schedule your fixtures to dim over time. Like for instance, at midnight, when you know there's not a lot of traffic in that location, you can schedule to dim by 30%, and then maybe at 3 a.m. You can schedule it to dim another 30% to drop its light levels. And what that does from an optimization standpoint is it really, you get the most energy savings that you possibly can out of that location. This also helps you increase equipment life because you're just not driving it quite as hard over that period of time. So to further illustrate what an optimized solution really brings to the table, in this graphic here, what we're showing is 250 Roadway luminaires, 1,000-watt high-pressure sodium, high-mast fixtures. In a year, burning 12 hours a day at 10 cents per kilowatt hour, you're probably going to spend about $150,000 a year on energy and maintenance costs for that application. And if you just replace those fixtures with an LED solution, say in this case the HMAO2 LED fixture, you would save 68%, or a little over $87,000 a year on that application. At that point, your payback is under 4 years. It's about 3.5 years on that payback. But if you were to put an optimized solution together and bring some type of control package into the overall plan, whether that be some type of lighting management system, some type of scheduled dimming system, some type of diagnostics program where from a maintenance perspective you're able to have your maintenance crews work a lot more effectively, you could actually bring your payback down to 3 years instead of 3.5, and your savings is about 78% over the previous system. So, to reemphasize, a lot of people when they talk about LED systems, I mean, when we first got started, we were talking about 7, 8, 9 years payback. Right now where the technology is today, we're talking about under 4 years. In this case, replacing 1,000-watt high-pressure sodium fixtures, we're talking about a 3-year payback, which in many financial systems or financial models is a very doable payback. And point number 5 that we're making in this presentation is that we have proven results at Holophane and at Acuity Brands where we've gone ahead and we've installed, like I said earlier, over 30,000 units in the field up to this point. And this is where our company may differ from a lot of our competitors, is that we have proven systems in application that have worked for many years and yielded very good results for our customers. And we're going to take the next couple slides just to talk about some of our success stories that we've had with our high-mast lighting systems. And after the presentation, we're going to give you the opportunity to sign up for, to get an email where we can provide you a link to these case studies so you can actually see for yourself some of the results that we've had in some of these applications. But the first success story that we want to talk about is in the city of Canton, Ohio. The city of Canton came to us with a couple challenges. Now, most importantly, what they wanted to do was improve their quality of lighting for the roadway. This area in Canton, Ohio, is at the intersection of 62 and Route 77, State Route 77, where they had some accidents in the past, and they wanted to improve driver safety in those locations. And in addition, they didn't want to do this and then add, a bunch of new costs to these applications. They wanted to reduce energy and they wanted to reduce operating expenses, but the application had to completely pay for itself over, I think what their hurdle rate on this was, they wanted to be able to meet a 5-year payback on this application. And we couldn't put in any new pole locations either, so they had to, we had to keep existing pole locations. So the lighting that we put on these poles had to be able to meet the existing requirements that the HPS system was already providing, right? When we put these, we ran a pilot to start out with, and we saw very good results early on. The high-mast luminaires used our 12-mod light engine, and we had a wide distribution, symmetrical light distribution pattern on this application. There were about 4 luminaires per tower, and we had 6 towers in this initial test. And then we also put all fixtures with a dusk to dawn control system on this application. They immediately saw better night visibility. They saw improved signage recognition, and road markings were very visible. And they especially saw an improvement during rain events. And you can see the quote by Dan Moglin, in the City of Canton engineer on this application. But most importantly, they also saw a dramatic improvement in cost savings. They saw a $13,000 annual energy savings on this application, and they saw $5,000 in maintenance savings. And they estimate the total payback to be between 3.5 to 4 years. As we talked about before, West Virginia Department of Highways are another early adopter of this technology. We installed this on the roadways around the Charleston, the capital of West Virginia. The project had many challenges. Number one, they wanted to reduce the number of man hours that they were spending on driving around the roadways of West Virginia looking for outages and making replacements and repairs. And nothing against anybody in West Virginia and the work crews there. That's how anybody changes out HPS fixtures, because they don't really lend themselves to network controls. That type of technology just doesn't work with other types of control systems. They wanted to figure out what they could do to cut down on the number of man hours that they spent driving around the roadways fixing luminaires. They also had another challenge again. This was, as in the last case that we just talked about in the city of Canton, we had to use existing pole locations, meaning that we couldn't put any new poles in the ground. When that's the case, that just tells you that we had to maintain consistent light levels as the HPS system did. So it's not like we could put more luminaires and more poles on the roadway in order to maintain those consistent values. So we had to replace one for one. And then, this was, anybody that's been through West Virginia knows that there's a lot of mountains in West Virginia. It's the mountaineer state. There's a lot of changing elevations, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to light those applications. And we had to be very mindful of that when we went in for this replacement. The solution called for almost 600 fixtures. We changed them out one for one. We went with our 12-mod light engine. In some applications, we used our wide symmetrical light distribution. In other areas, we used narrow distribution, just depending on the different types of terrain that we were lighting. We had 4 to 10 fixtures per pole, depending on the pole spacing, the terrain, and the mounting height. And we had 6 per tower on key locations along the interchanges. And all fixtures were installed with our dusk to dawn dimming control. And what we saw from a results perspective was we saw more than 50% maintenance reduction. We put that in there. It's virtually zero maintenance on LED fixtures. A 25% energy reduction, and the overall payback for this application was 5 years. The last success story takes us to Mount Juliet, Tennessee, where again the emphasis was on enhancing motorist safety. They wanted to improve safety. They wanted, along the I-40 interchange in Mount Juliet, they had numerous accidents. Especially when they had rain events. They had pooling and ponding on some of the roadways there, making that area very troublesome. They were making overall improvements in that area, but one of the places that they wanted to make drastic improvement was in the lighting. Again, we had to maintain existing pole locations and lowering devices. We weren't putting in any new poles. We couldn't do this job without a very strong ROI behind it. They were pleased with our first generation fixture, but our first gen, because it only delivered 45,000 lumens from an output perspective, they waited for our Gen 2 fixtures to come out, and in order to meet their ROI goals. And what we did was we replaced their 1,000-watt HPS fixtures. And we used, our wide symmetrical light distribution pattern for this application. Anywhere from 4 to 10 fixtures were installed per pole, depending on the mounting height that was used. And what we were able to do is dramatically improve the visual comfort in the space. We saw a 42% energy reduction. We also qualified for the Tennessee Valley Authority rebate, and they were able to get an additional additional funds in order to fund this project. And the system payback overall was 6 years. So we just talked briefly about 3 case studies that again, they're available. If you ask for them, we can get you we can point you to the link to download these versions in their long form. And we talked, and in review, we addressed energy, and we address maintenance, and then we address motor safety in all three of those applications. But what I want to emphasize is that when each one had a common theme, really, in each case study, and is that each customer wanted to do a product trial before they really pulled the trigger, and they went forward with the overall project. And we have a great High-Mast trial program. And if you're sitting on the fence and you're wondering whether or not, this is the right type of technology for you, what I want to do is encourage you to take the first step, just to let us install a tower, 4 fixtures for free, and have your managers in your area come out and take a look at it and look at light levels. You can get some type of light meter out there to take some readings to see what our output looks like, what our performance looks like in that application, just to verify the performance. And then if you actually do an audit, we can actually provide you with a full system audit so that we can put that in front of different funding arms that might be available out there to help you secure funding. Our High-Mast trial program is something that we stand behind, and a lot of our customers ask for that before they take the next step. And even if you're on the phone and you're not a DOT manager or director, maybe you operate a very large prison facility, or you are a wastewater treatment facility manager, or you work in maintenance for some industrial application. What I would like to do is encourage you to reach out to me after the presentation and just ask for more information on whatever application that you may have a challenge with right now, and I'd be willing to talk to you a little bit more about that. But just so you know, we provide solutions not just for roadways, but for a number of a variety of different types of applications, and we're seen as a leader in our space. So I'm glad that you've taken the time to join us today. I want to thank you for that time. And again, I'm going to provide you with my contact information after the presentation, so that if you have anything that you want to talk to me about or contact me about, please feel free to do so. And this is my contact information. You can reach me on my you can send me an email at dean.thornberry@acuitybrands.com. I wanted to just take this time to thank you for spending this time with me this afternoon. On the next couple slides, you're going to have the opportunity to opt in for, if you want to receive an email to get a link to our case studies, or if you would like to request a trial demonstration of our product in your application. So stay tuned for the next couple slides to
And as earlier promised, we said that we'd do a couple poll questions at the end of this presentation. And the first poll question we'd like to ask, just as a follow-up, we mentioned it earlier, this is your opportunity if you'd like to try a free trial installation. We're giving the audience a chance to answer this question right now. It's either a yes or no, to give us an indication of what your interest level may be. I'll wait a couple seconds. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to the next slide. And this is the opportunity where we'd like to poll your interest level on additional case study material. If you'd like to get a follow-up email from us that would provide you with a link to our case study information that we've provided earlier in this presentation, this is your opportunity to answer yes or no. Okay. And I just want to provide my contact information at the end of this presentation once again. If you have more questions, we've had some great questions throughout this presentation. I've been typing like crazy. Very good questions we've had. If you have more insight that you'd like to provide about where you've used High-Mast lighting in your location, or if you'd like to ask for additional information from me, please send me a note on my email address right here. So I just want to thank you again for your interest, and I want to thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon. This concludes the call.